Hello my friends, today I'm gonna make some dark ambient music in Cubase, and to make this even more challenging I will only use Cubase Stock-Plugins and Instruments. No Valhalla Supermassive today, I'm sorry. So welcome to the ground noise and another ambient tutorial. Let's try to create a short ambient track by using very simple techniques which will make it easy for you to follow along. Also, let's try to give it a dark and Octoberish character. What do you think? One more important thing before we start. Of course, you can do the same project in another DAW as well. And this video here isn't sponsored by anybody but you. So make sure to like and subscribe. It helps me a lot. Thank you very much. Let's get started by setting up a tempo. It's not really important when you're about to make a very free and open ambient track. But I want to give the track a bit of a structure, so this time I go for 72 BPM. I mean, why not? For this video I think it's enough to go for a track that is about a minute long or so, and this time I will write something in E minor, so that you know. For our first part, let's perform the same ambient trick as we did in this video, where I make a satisfying ambient loop. Don't forget to check it out after this one, okay? And the trick is that you can turn almost every instrument into an ambient one by simply lengthening the attack and release times. So let's see how it turns out. I take my usual E piano and turn up the attack and release times. It needs more volume as well. Now I write a part with only the root note in it, but this time I don't use a randomizer to change the pitch of that note. Instead, I copy the part and change the note to G, and I make another copy and change it to B. These three notes are just an E minor chord. Now it's time for some effect tracks. A stereo delay and some reverb will do. As you can see, I only use the most basic Cubase plugins, nothing special. For the reverb I simply use the dark and long preset, and the delay runs at the same tempo for both sides, left and right. Since I will use both effects as sense effects, I need to set the mix value to 100%. I arrange the parts and change their position kind of randomly, and I also make some of them play an octave higher or lower. The second element of our track is a deep bass drone. The Analog Pad preset in HalionSonic is always right for the job, if you ask me. I just create a part and write a deep E into it. Here we go, although the sound is a bit too aggressive, so I give it a bit of a cutoff. But now it's missing texture, so I duplicate the part and load the Retroloque Synth, which I often use to come up with plain and simple bass sounds in no time. Now just watch me tweaking the sound and applying a very slow LFO. Okay, that's good. Let me put both our basses into a group track. It's generally a good idea to group related tracks together, you know. If you have trouble following along because you are new to Cubase, just check out my Cubase for Beginners series. It's only 3 short but fast-paced videos that will turn you into a Cubase expert. Well, maybe not immediately, but you know. Now let's add more elements to our track. What about an interesting pad? For stuff like that we have PadShop, which is a powerful granular sample player. I simply go for the shadowy preset, that's it. I simply design some parts that play between the other parts and I make them really simple with only fifths and octaves. And somewhere in the second half of the track I want to bring in a melodic pattern. For that I use the Colors Vintage Synth, which runs inside HalionSonic and was given away for free by Steinberg a while ago. This is a nice sound and I already have an idea for a pattern, so let me quickly write it down in a part. And some of you might think that it's already getting too much for such an ambient track, but ambient music can be everything you want, and I only want to provide you with some ideas. Let me know in the comments what projects you are working on and how many tracks you have finished, let's say during the last month. Give me some input so that I can come up with more video ideas. Alright, this is already pretty nice, I think. Some delay here and some reverb there. And then I have another idea. I want to create a moody rhythm part with the bass drum. And this one will do, but it also needs reverb and some filtering so that it sounds really washed out and far away. That's cool, and now I only want to add a fade in to the bass drone group and then Oh yeah, it's slowly turning into something. I can already feel that Octoberish vibe I was looking for. But I'm not done yet. In the meantime, I've loaded another free Cubase plugin, the Navia Harp, and I came up with a counter melody that creates a question-answer situation together with the first melody pattern. My only problem now is that the track doesn't sound very dark anymore. On the other hand, autumn can be many things. It's cold and rainy on one side and beautiful on the other side with all the golden leaves in the sun and the fresh air, you know. Anyway, since Cubase 13 we have Iconika Sketch available and maybe I can use the shallow to add more darkness to the first half of the track. Oh yeah, this works. And I think we're done, but before we listen to the whole track, just one more thing. We've never talked about what I do after the session. Well, I just make sure that there's some kind of nice ending, and this time I simply decide for a fade out on the bass track and also in the stereo bus. I also save the project, of course, and give it a name that makes it easy to identify it later, even much later. So I don't brainstorm for a fancy name or something, no. Normally I simply go for the current date, and this way you can come back years later and still find all the folders. And finally I export the track as is and put it in my folder of demos where it can live for a while until I rediscover it and decide to finalize it. Or not. But now let's finally listen to the thing. And here we go, we've made a dark and also melodic ambient track in Cubase with only the stock plugins. I know it's only 1 minute long, okay, but with all the twists and turns it took about like 55, I think the video file says 55 minutes to make. But now it's up to you. How would you continue this track? Would you just make it longer or maybe use it as an intro? Also fire up your DAW and start creating something like this yourself. Let me know how it turned out for you, okay? And if you need more inspiration, you know where you find me. So that's it for today. My name is Markus. I thank you very much for watching and I hope to see you soon in the next one.